again. You're never alone. Boom, boom.
You're never disconnected.
Papa. You're home and you're own.
Connected.
You're well protected.
Oh my God.
I think maybe this should be the intro, actually.
Yeah.
Like, are you ready?
When I look around my heart, only want to feel the flight before.
And with that, we can cheers, which is basically the customary way to start this episode.
And
Cheers.
it's good for energy release, by the way.
Is it?
Like, it breaks
Is it because
anything.
it scares away the...
It breaks away frequency that's negative.
What if we do it twice like we just
Let's do
did?
it 3 times. There we go.
Cheers, Yasmeen.
Cheers.
Can't believe it's been 20 years.
I've never done a podcast having a drink.
Yeah.
So let's see how this goes.
I've had a couple of... I've had guests on that wanted to have a drink, but obviously because of stakeholders and clients, so we had to put whiskey in a mug and like pretend that it's tea and stuff.
Okay.
And they'd be like, "Thank you for the tea," and like they catch me off guard and start chuckling in the middle of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't have that kind of reservation at all. I don't think there's anything wrong with it personally.
No, neither do I. It's a social lubricant, to use Joe Rogan's exact description. Don't get intimidated by the paragraphs of notes.
Oh, jeez, don't show me that. Don't show me that. And it's not even like bullet points, it's paragraphs.
I mean, this is honestly because I didn't get the chance to summarize them from all the thoughts that I had into crisp points.
Yeah.
But no, I know exactly what we're going to talk about. And I'm so excited because it's been 20 years. And I thought we have so much in common between spending our teenage years in Jordan, going to the same high school, sharing a stage together, acting in West Side Story.
Those are the most special memories that I have with you personally, because outside of theatre arts and like our performances in school, of course we saw each other around school, but my vivid ones would be of us more on stage, backstage, prepping, makeup, and
Miss Lee
eating.
with her blonde
what
hair.
was the pizza place? The one next to school?
It's like 5 minutes away towards Hayes,
Like
right?
exactly up in that little corner.
They were the best times, huh? After
But like us trying to get pizza from there, and like who's gonna go, and do we walk? Is there a driver? Are we driving illegally? Like just little things like that. They're so special.
So special. I used to park my like old BMW that my dad got my mom, I think, in 1978 with like Tupac playing in the background. I thought I was some
We thought you
gangster
were
when I was
so
17.
cool.
Jordanian patriarchy making its way to ABS. Yeah. But yeah, it was fun. But after I started watching not just your last episode with Omar Mina, shout out to Omar, great guy.
Shout out Omar Mina.
What a great episode. And
he's
like he
awesome.
set the stage for me to like do a ton of follow-up questions.
Omar is really good at this.
Yeah, he's a natural.
He's really good at this. So don't be surprised if you see him doing this a bit more.
Yeah.
Whether it be with me or whether it's on his own, he's fantastic. He's made for it. Like he's really made for being on a stage, and whether it be presenting, like he's inaugurated weddings as well. Like he's been a person like, standing in front of people, exchanging vows for
He's always
Hassan
been
and Nafsika.
animated. He's a good communicator. He's obviously very kind. He's empathetic. He's a good listener. I think all the questions you asked, I don't know how much of them you were prepped on before, but like he was just a natural, I mean,
No, he was so good. And I think I trust him. Firstly, the quality and standard of, what he was doing was so good.
Yeah.
But I trust him because we're very, very close. So maybe there was a slight, I don't want to say bias, or I felt just very comfortable with him.
Yeah.
And, the guests that come on to my show, some know me, but some really don't know me. So maybe it wasn't fair that he knew me as well. Like it wasn't like a fair, you know what I'm trying to say?
100%.
Yeah.
Well, you had on one guest who was an incredible woman, Sarah.
Agrubi.
Yeah, and you've never met her before, and you mentioned that you're like, this is the first time we meet and stuff. But if you didn't mention that, that episode seemed as natural as...
We had really good chemistry, and you never know if you're going to have that chemistry or you're not going to have that chemistry,
right.
I think.
Yeah.
And I have chosen a lot of people that I've known, so I have an indication of that. But with the ones that I don't know, there's probably been maybe 4 or 5 of those.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like,
Including your brother,
God.
by the way, yeah.
I mean, I think, you know what's funny? My brother, I was more nervous for my brother's one than I was for a lot of them.
Yeah, I bet.
But why? He's my twin brother. But again, maybe because I know him so well. And in the back of my mind, there's a lot going on that I'm not sure.
What to say and what not to say, what to ask and what not to ask.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course, 100%.
Yeah.
The only family member I've had on the show has been my dad, and that was a great one because he was telling me all about his experience interviewing Sheikh Zayed just before the founding of the UAE.
Wow.
And he's 87 now.
And why was he interviewing Sheikh Zayed?
So he was the political editor of Al Riyadh newspaper at the time.
Oh.
Right. So that was before the formation of the UAE, 50 something years ago, 51 or 52 years to be exact. And so as the political editor of Al Riyadh newspaper, which is like New York Times of the Middle East, he goes there. Nothing in all of the UAE. Sheikh Zayed's house is made out of mud. He sits there with a broken table holding the TV, black and white, like very humble living.
Wow.
So he told the story, and it was great having him on. And that was I think that's one of the clips I have on my LinkedIn. But so back to you for a second. I realized that aside of everything we've like kind of all the stuff that we have in common, you are a serial entrepreneur.
I guess.
You started 2 companies.
I guess, yeah.
The podcast is entrepreneurial. I mean, say what you want.
Yeah.
But, and actually, let's start with your podcast, Pivot DXB, right? I love it. You are focusing primarily on professionals in Dubai across the board from all walks of life, and specifically on their pivots, which is such an exciting angle.
Not just Dubai, actually.
Okay.
I put DXB because after I called it Pivot, I realized there was another Pivot, a much bigger platform. I can't even remember what it was, but something in the US. So I put DXB just to differentiate it, just so there was no clash.
I ran into the same branding issue with podcasts with the KAS as well.
Yeah, I didn't really think too much about it, and this is my problem. I don't really go into the research as much as I probably should.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's not just Dubai, but there is the DXB factor there. I am based here.
Yeah.
My studio that I use is here.
Yeah.
So DXB is just more of a differentiation point, but it's not just people of Dubai.
Right, but the pivot angle is really exciting. And that's another thing we have in common in that I run a business, you met Georgia earlier, which is
awesome chick.
Awesome chick, absolutely.
Awesome chick. Shout out Georgia.
Shout out Georgia. We're giving you an actual live shout out in the middle of the episode.
Yeah. She's like, do I say anything? Should I go eat?
Are we still testing the cameras?
Yeah.
No. We're in a company that is basically, it's an executive search firm plus it's focused on management consultants and how they can pivot out of their full-time careers into other stuff while giving them freelance gigs. So,
super cool.
So the fact that you focused on pivoting, obviously you cover many more industries and careers, is pretty cool. And I have a couple of questions about them. The first one is going to be somewhat irrelevant and funny. Have you ever tried to Google Ross Geller, literally, and click on the couch?
No.
You want to do it right now on your phone?
Okay.
It can take a little bit of time, but I was thinking...
I'll try to speed this up.
No, take your time.
Wait, what am I Googling?
Just Google Ross Geller, from Friends.
Oh, he's my favorite character.
Okay, then.
I didn't know if you actually said Ross Geller. I was like, I heard like Ross Geller, and I was like, there's no way he just said Ross Geller. So I was like,
I gotta focus on my enunciation. Enunciate, yes.
Enunciate. Who would have said that? Lee Sibley or...
Lee Alison Sibley and...
Belinda?
Brenda.
Enunciate. Yeah, Ross Geller.
So basically, I think you have to put in a specific... You got to put... search Friends Ross. Okay, so you got to put in Google Friends Ross.
Friends Ross.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're going to see the actual character.
Okay.
And a couch on the top right corner. Yeah, just Friends Ross. Enter. Hit enter.
Okay.
There you go. You see the
couch?
Okay, go ahead. Click it.
Okay, are we doing this?
Yeah, go ahead. Click the couch.
Okay.
Pivot!
But put the volume up. And hit it again.
Pivot!
Again. It should be saying pivot.
Pivot!
I can't hear it.
Also, I have a really shit phone. Hold on.
Okay, I don't think it's going to pivot anymore.
Yeah. Now take 3.
Take 88. Take 87.
Okay, I don't think it's going to pivot anymore.
If you keep clicking, it says pivot.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so Pivot DXB. So this was going to be my first question about Pivot DXB. Is it wasn't going to be a question, more like, did you know that you could do that on Google? But no, on a more serious note. A couple of questions, actually. This is a 7-part question.
Wow.
No, so it's a... So actually, so why did you start a podcast in general, and why specifically that angle?
Ahmad kind of tapped into this when I was talking to him. Long story short, I was really interested in doing video interviews a long time ago. It was about 10 years ago-ish, 9 years ago. And at the time, podcasts weren't as big. Getting a video crew to video interviews was a lot more expensive. It wasn't as accessible. I was still coming out of BlackBerry at the time, so it wasn't even like a phone situation. And even if it was a phone situation, it was low quality, low resolution. So it was nothing like today. So basically, I wanted to do video interviews. I ended up getting a friend of mine to do the interview with me, and he was an Arsenal football player. He is called Kieran Gibbs. He doesn't play for Arsenal anymore. He used to play for Arsenal, and he was in Dubai a lot at the time. And I was like, Gibbo, will you sit down with me and do this interview? And he said yes. And I was like, oh shit, I haven't done this before. I don't know what I'm doing. What am I even asking him? What is the angle? Why am I doing this? I started going through that, but I did it anyways. And it was fun. I will not ever look back at the interview itself because I'm mortified. It's just so cringe to even think that how unprepared I was to go in, but it was all kind of unexpected. So I did the interview. I wanted to continue, but I didn't really have an angle. Was it humorous? Was it, what's the point? Why am I sitting down with this person talking to them? So I hadn't really thought these things out. Yeah. And it was not sustainable also. Like, yes, I was thinking of creating a website and just hosting really cool interviews that I would say. And I'm really into sports. So my angle was sports and athletes, which still is, even with my hypnotherapy, I still want to go down that route and do more hypnotherapy with athletes. Sorry, I'm digressing a little bit. But it kind of wasn't the right time for myself, for the actual content to come out, for the quality of the content to be good. So I parked it. And then here we are sort of 10 years later, where podcasts is a thing. And I'm less interested in the podcast angle. I'm more interested in the video interview angle. Okay. So of course, like putting it on podcasting, like hosting sites is great because it gives you more reach and people kind of just want to walk and listen. But my interest is more the video angle. And I don't know sort of why, but that's always what I've loved.
I think that's one of the things why podcasts are picking up is because
you can see,
you can watch clips. Exactly, right? And I think this is one of the reasons why more people are watching podcasts or listening to them.
100%.
And by the way, the thing you said earlier about how Amar might do his own show potentially, I mean, here's the thing about podcasters, especially those of us who are like yourself potentially, you know, and myself as well. It's a bit of an autodidactic hobby. Like you can just pick it up, and especially if you have a little bit of like willingness to take a risk. Totally. Cringe is like, I mean, if you see some of my episodes, I mean, slurring is the worst of it, right? Like you know, it gets much worse. Sometimes I'm like brain farting in the middle of a live stream, which is how I used to be doing it before. I was literally streaming live, which was flipping my own cameras too. Oh my God, I was putting myself under so much pressure. But
it's already a high pressure thing because it's very much you, it's your voice, it's your thoughts, it's your opinions. Yeah. So to add live on top of that, are you crazy?
Yeah, but
I'm not saying don't do it, but like initially when you're just learning the ropes, it's a bit insane.
I don't know. I think at the time Joe Rogan was doing it live, and I was like, and he was such a big inspiration for me. I was like, maybe
you're looking at the biggest podcaster of all time.
Yeah, you know, aim for the stars, reach for the moon, or how does the saying go?
What is it? What do you say?
Like aim for the stars, reach the moon, or aim for the moon.
Aim for the. You're up.
I wasn't trying to be Joe Rogan, to be honest. I mean, I always knew that Joe Rogan was going to be on a pedestal, but he was a great inspiration. Yeah. And I just thought the live would also give me more exposure. It turns out not so much. Like actually, if not a lot of people are going to be watching your live streams, then it's going to harm your viewership and your page and all of that. But
you have to be careful with content.
Yeah.
You have to be really careful, I think, with how you are portraying not just yourself but your guests. And it's about, I don't want to say, because to be honest, I'm not editing anymore. I just do from zero to end with no edit.
No clips, nothing?
No, as in when I first started, I would film the hour, and then if there were certain things that I didn't really like, I would cut it.
Yeah.
But I don't do that anymore.
Okay.
I literally
you
film
just let the whole thing
zero
go?
to and there's a little bit more pressure with that because obviously you're like a little bit more conscious of not being able to edit. But it makes me do a lot more work on myself.
Yeah.
Because it's very much about the host.
Yeah, it teaches also how to improvise and how to interject when it's the right time to interject.
Yeah.
Like kind of to show agreeability or disagreeability without humming and saying no into the mic, because it gets disruptive by non-verbally showing your guest that nodding or like question mark. These things I don't have a mentor or anything or anybody giving me feedback, but when I watch my episodes I realize that even though you want to show your guests that you agree with the point, you can't just be like, yeah, it's interruptive, right? These are some of the small things you pick up, and that's just a small example. But the thing about us podcasters is that we all inspire each other. So like I started my show also not just inspired by Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman and all those guys, but I said this to Lulu Khazen, who was on, I think, episode 3 of my show, because she was doing her show, and I was like, you were probably the last kind of, well, if Lulu's doing it, come on, get up and do it as well.
100%.
She's an incredible woman as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if like guests who go on shows end up doing their own. Have you been a guest on any other show before, or is this your first?
I don't know, by the way. I think this is my debut.
The exhilaration
as a guest.
though is similar to that. Well, before we go on stage, like West Side Story, remember how anxious we would be, but like the good kind of nervous.
Weirdly, maybe because I just did one a couple of days ago
on your own show.
On my own, but still it gives you it's still nerve-wracking being a host as well, by 100%. The way. Like it's actually more nerve-wracking being a host than it is being a guest, in my opinion. But just having that little bit of warm up, I would say. So today I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the wine, to be honest. Like, I'm not sure.
That we're hanging on your phone?
Oh, sorry. Oops. But again, like, we're keeping this natural, right?
Yeah, of course,
so it's all good.
And by the way, we don't necessarily need to edit anything that we've done up until now out, except for that excess fat while we're looking things up and still keep it natural.
Ross Geller.
No, yeah. The whole episode becomes about Ross Geller suddenly, and it's not about...
I love Ross. He's my favorite character.
And he was the most highly paid, actually, until he got everybody else up to his pay grade. So
so he was a theater buff. I don't know if you know that, but he was not a TV actor. And he got offered Friends and was like, ew, that is so not my jam.
Okay.
And then he ended up being persuaded into being Ross on Friends.
Did not know that.
But you can tell he's so slapstick. Like, he's such a slapstick actor. He's so performative and just physical with his whole acting. So you can see it now that I'm saying it to you, I'm sure.
Oh my God, like when he would go on his anger management state, and then when he would find out about Monica and Chandler, he was very animated.
And animated, exaggerated in like his whole face and the way that he does things.
Phoebe and Rachel, oh my God, we found your apartment. Ross.
Yeah.
Too bad, I mean.
Unagi. That was a good one as well.
Unagi.
Yeah. Anyways, enough about Ross.
Yeah. So, Pivot DXB. So, what have you so you must have met about, I think about 20, how many episodes have you done so far? 17?
14 or 15.
And
I think my last one was the 15th. And it's been around for, let's say, exactly a year.
Yeah.
So, on average, it's been an episode a month.
So, you have about 14, 15 guests. And then you have, of course, your live meeting, talking to friends and family. And it seems to be the main topic, especially around me, even outside my own company. Is what I got to do with my career? What do I pivot into?
Yeah.
So I was just genuinely curious to ask: did you find any common denominator up until now in terms of what makes people pivot successfully or not successfully in their own version of success? And does any particular pivot that you've heard of up until now, in specific, stick with you as one that is insightful or interesting out of all of the pivots that you've heard of up until now?
I find them all so inspiring and interesting in their own way, because every soul that you're with has their own journey, and the way that it comes into context in their life. And so the last part of your question is, I've heard so many, and even to like remember them all is slightly difficult because there's so many.
Yeah.
I would say, let me think.
Yeah, take your time. And also these questions I can understand might be tough, and I do apologize for not preparing you to that question.
No, but that's the whole point. Like, this is a good thing. This is a natural conversation, which I love. But I think
it can even be the smallest thing that you think when somebody, because like pivoting can sometimes be by accident. I think from my own experience, like my own pivot has been accidental. Did not mean to pivot into what I pivoted into. And we'll focus on that separately.
Wait, hold on. Yazan.
You're going to have to get me on your show to do this. I know exactly where this is going to go.
Well, you can have a couple of pivots. There doesn't need to be one, right?
Sure, yeah.
So, Yazan, can you please tell me about a pivot that you've gone through that you feel has gotten you to this point today? It can be small, it can be big, it could be something mental, it can be something physical, it can be something huge, it can be really something that happened yesterday, or it can be something that happened when you were a child. But what do you feel is one thing that you deeply remember that's deeply impacted you?
So I'll save the career one, which is a company that I started if and when I do come on your show, if I'm honored enough to come on your show. But I'm actually going through one right now, by the way. And it's more personal. I
like that it's relevant and live, so let's discuss.
Yeah. I've surprisingly found myself after 20 years of being an adult, in the last 4 or 5 months, my lifestyle has taken a bit of a, almost like hitting rock bottom, all the bad habits from social media addiction to other types of negative habits. And
wait, explain. You're saying social media addiction or social media habits of that addiction with social media?
Let's just say addiction in general and also negative habits. So think about drinking too much, over-medicating to get sleep sometimes, trading too much, which means losing money, a degenerate life in kind of colloquial terms, or a hedonic life. And only after I thought
numbing in a way.
Well,
maybe?
It felt like I mean, at the time, it didn't feel like I was numbing or anything. It felt like this is just my way of rewarding myself after a long, hard day of work, and I have it under control. And I did have it under control in that I got a house, I started a business, things looked great from the outside, but on the inside,
you're struggling
in a very cliche way. Yeah, especially after you listen to all these kind of actors and successful people who would surprise you by having Chandler, right? I mean, who would have thought, right? And fortunately, I'm nowhere. Thank God, where he ended up talking about his own life in his own book, by the way, great book. But I am going, since the beginning of the year, through a very positive pivot.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank God, surrounded by people like Georgia, my sisters, my family, my great friends. Now a concoction of therapists and healers and coaches instead of a concoction of pills and drinks and other types of distractions. So that's currently an overwhelming pivot. My mind capacity is opening up again. I'm able to converse with people who've known me for 20, 25 years. Aisha is like, I haven't had a chat with you like that since we were like 2021.
Oh, that's
I was
excellent.
like, I think that's the most sober I've been since you last chatted with me when I was 21. I mean, I wasn't like drunk and walking around, but you know what I mean? Like, my head was cleared. So for me, this is my current pivot that I'm kind of working on. The podcast starting again is part of it. Positive habits. It's something I like. Sure, we're having some wine, but like, that's totally within my expectations of how I would like to conduct my life. But then of course there are some more exciting pivots that are about my current company, which I'm very proud of. It's probably the one thing that I can point at and be like, I'm such an OG in that particular thing.
I have a question.
Yeah. I was not expecting this interview to flip, but go on.
Well, this is why I wore my basketball jersey,
Such
which we haven't.
By the way.
Why are we wearing these again?
My
Because we're
podcast
technically
uniform.
co-hosting, right?
That's absolutely right. Thank you so much, Yaz.
I called you Yaz, and I said, listen, are you going to wear a basketball jersey? Because you said the word co-host, and I took it seriously. So I'm going to sit with you here and kind of not be your equal, but try to
absolutely
flip this on you
Thank
as
you so
much as possible.
You're more than welcome to. Absolutely.
So what did you do over I don't know when you felt like this pivot was happening, so whether it was 6 months ago, a year ago, a week ago, but what have you done that has made these shifts?
I fell on the floor and smashed my face, literally. I have a picture.
Oh, okay, so it was like a rock bottom, I've hurt myself.
I mean, like there was a couple of back-to-back incidents, fortunately, between like literally falling on the floor and smashing my face like somebody who's drinking for the first time in his life.
Yeah.
I have a picture of it. Hopefully we don't have to, Nicole, we're not going to pull up that picture. My niece was editing. Sometimes I give her some comments in the middle of the recording.
Yeah.
But yeah, so literally falling on my face and like how embarrassing that must have been, fortunately in my own apartment. So anyway, a few incidents have happened that again, fortunately, some of these are blessings in disguise, because it has led me to kind of calling in my friends and my sisters, like, you guys think I have it under control, and I do. But I think it's time to like...
But I'm not doing well.
I kind of invited an intervention on myself, believe it or not.
Well, that means you wanted it. Like, it's great. You invited this in because clearly there's an issue that you're trying to address, and you needed a bit of help and a bit of support.
I just hope it stays consistent.
Well, you're being very open.
Yeah.
And I don't think most people, especially men as well, would usually be this vulnerable and open in front of an audience. You're confronting many things just within this moment,
Yeah,
I don't know if you discussed this.
If I was talking about this for like the 5th or 6th time, I probably would be crying by now, because that's the sort of thing that I would be doing a month ago. By now, it starts to become a little bit of a thing that I can talk about a little bit more comfortably. So maybe if I look like I have it together as I talk about it, it's only because that's all I've been talking about for the last like 2 months.
Well, talking about it helps.
Yeah.
But then I think action is really important as well.
Yeah.
So just talking about it is one thing.
Yeah.
Which means, fine, I'm comfortable to discuss it with someone and within myself, right? That's all good and dandy until you actually do something about it.
100%.
And then it's like, what's the action? There's the verbal, then there's the action.
But here's the interesting part about coping and addiction in general is that And I remember about 2 years ago, because this wasn't like, didn't catch me off guard. This thing has been perpetuating for like years, right? And it's been brewing, and like it comes and goes in different swings. And one time I sat down with, I had a call with this, I think it was during the 2017-2018 crypto run. I traded a lot of crypto, obviously lost a ton of money trading. Eventually got on a call with this guy who is an addiction therapist from an addiction center in the UK. And I was like, I think I have a gambling problem with trading. Anyway, long story short, we have a chat. And he's like, so what's your best day look like? Describe to me your perfect day when you're not like drinking or trading or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, you should see me. I'm killing it. I'm like working. I'm making so much more money than I would be if I was trading. Like I'm working, like I'm such a productive guy. He's like, all right, before I send you to any other anonymous group, you're going to Workaholics Anonymous. So like being addicted to your work or being productive, we don't treat it like, we look at it as if like he's such a hard worker, she's such a hustler, but it's actually like a form of
overkill in a way. Like, I agree.
But the reason I bring this up is actually, and I'm going to pivot back to you.
Oh, great. Okay.
You had mentioned, and I just wanted to get your opinion on it, because one of the things that you mentioned was your pivot to Amar in your episode is that you wanted to become an A student at one point in high school.
Yeah.
From being a super athlete to saying, I want to become an A student, and you became one. And then you spoke.
I didn't mention what the repercussions or the downside of that is.
Yeah.
Which was really negative.
So hold that thought, because that's exactly where I want to go with this, which is the self-expectation.
I'm really, really impressed that you picked up on that, because even when I finished it with Ahmad, I was like, I'm kind of glad he didn't pick up on that and I didn't have to discuss it. But no, that was the tough part.
That's a problem with all these, like, any podcast that is less than 2 hours. I mean, nobody's going to watch 2 hour podcasts unless, but like, you want to give it you want to be able to get into it vertically instead of just stories. So on that point, because there's two things actually, and this hopefully will be a cool surprise. Have you ever?
Are you playing a movie?
I'm going to do something that I haven't done before.
Oh my goodness.
Hold on one second. Let's see if I can.
So for viewers, there's a huge projector in front of me in his like 2-story loft apartment. This is stunning. I feel like I'm in New York. This is so cool. No, this is so cool.
Have you seen Coach Carter
before? I feel
before?
like such a
Thank
mom.
You so much,
I feel like
such
a mom right now to the like in a sense that this is cool. Like I'm missing, not missing out, but I feel like when you're living this different life, and I'm like, this is awesome.
Thank you so much, and I really hope before I play this clip that this is not going to be the last time we hang out.
No,
and maybe even like let's put a pin into this whole co-hosting a show together. Like,
boom,
let's do it.
Easy peasy.
On that note, have you seen Coach Carter before?
Yes, obviously.
Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, I met this guy at our friend's house, Shakir Masher. He came over to
Samuel Jackson?
No, the kid. What's his name?
Do you know the scene I'm about to play for you right now in this show?
I mean, no.
Okay, so a little bit of context. For those of you who haven't seen Yasmeen's show and her episode, you had told Omar that one of your pivots was to become an A student. And one of the things you had mentioned about your greatest fear is not living up to your full potential.
Yeah.
And 20 years had watched this movie, and this scene that we're about to watch stuck with me since then. I'm not like the kind of positive psychology quotes type of guy. But before...
You know what about the memes?
Here we go.
We've decided we're going to finish what you started, sir.
Yeah, so leave us be, coach. We got shit to do, sir.
All right, here it comes.
I love this movie so much.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
I forgot where I was for a second, by the way.
I just want to say thank you.
I'm not joking. I really love this movie.
Yeah, me too.
Obviously, I watched it when I was younger.
Same.
And
20 years.
If I watch it again now, I still love it as much. Like, there's nothing that's changed.
Yeah. And this speech is by Williamson, who I never knew her name until I got this quote.
I did, same.
Okay, so but
No, same. I mean, when he's saying it, obviously I can see he's not saying it from himself.
Yeah.
It's a quote of someone. But
and it goes in like, I think that speech has been probably quoted many times in graduation ceremonies and things of that sort.
No joke. I wouldn't. What I said had no relation to.
Oh no, I don't think
anything
it did.
like
but
that.
I mean,
yeah.
I think it's relevant because the reason I'm playing it is not because you said it in relevance to that.
Fine.
It just reminded me of that quote because this quote is all about basically what it says is you got to live up to your full potential and don't try to shy away from living to your full potential because you're going to inspire people.
Yeah.
And don't think that if you you're going to have to not live up to your full potential because you don't want to make anybody else around you feel insecure. So this is very much focused on motivating people to become their best selves, right? So in your case, live up to your full potential. Trust me, I come from the same background as well. Anything and everything that I'm proud of that I've done has come from a place of someone that I love or even myself telling me that I'm capable of doing it and then doing it and achieving things that I'm proud of and made people around me proud of me as well. But then, of course, here's the catch, right? At which point does that spill over?
At what cost?
And at what cost?
I think it's at what cost are you willing to achieve? There's always a give and take with everything that you do in life, right?
Yeah.
I'm here sitting with you doing this podcast and I ditched my kids and they're having dinner alone. It's a very simple example. But there's always going to be a little bit of a sacrifice or a cost to any action that you do. So you have to just be very, very content and aligned with what you do.
So as a hypnotherapist who works with people to help them in any issues and traumas they have, and as a parent of 3, mashallah, and as somebody who has wanted to become an A student and has become one and continues to be a hustler and a go-getter as you are today, how do you find, I guess your kids and how you raise them is the best example of how you've improved on that idea. Do you find yourself, how do you inspire and push them without...
My kids?
Yeah, and letting them spill over. And maybe you can tell me their age as well, if you don't mind.
So my eldest is nearly 7, so 7 in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So 7, 4, and 1. Obviously, they're very different ages, so you have to treat each one it's very separately. And I think not a mistake, but something I just do unconsciously is shove the 7-year-old and the 4-year-old in the same bracket, because my 7-year-old is 6 turning 7 and the 4-year-old thinks he's 6 turning 7. He talks like he's much older than his age. He's a very big boy as well. So I forget he's 4. He literally looks like a 6-year-old. So I have to remind myself all the time, he's not 6 and he's still a baby, So, but at the same time, he wants to be treated like he's an older kid. He acts like an older kid. He's big. So, sorry, I don't know why I got on to that point, but it's kind of just
describe away.
It's just reminding myself that where they're at in their growth.
Sure, 100%.
Because I think from 0 to 7 is a really important part of everything.
100%.
And now my first one's about to hit that 7-year mark, and it freaks me out because he's also going through a bit of a tough time, and with school and with, we're facing a bit of challenges there. But at the same time, I'm so grateful because my eyes are now opened to his real needs and what he may be needing from whether it's this school or another school, or just being able to understand him and what he needs with any kid is really important.
Right.
And I'd rather figure this out now than when he's a teenager.
Okay. And maybe 0 to 7, even though that's, as you said, from the little bit that I have learned from Gabor Mate and Anna Lemke and all those people, is that it's a critical age, and Hiba, my therapist. So, do you feel for example, in your case, let's not talk about maybe how you're raising your kids, but do you feel like your overachievement and has come at some sort of expense or
not with my kids,
not like you yourself?
With myself, yeah, for sure. And I think
way?
what I didn't discuss in my pivot when I was talking to Ahmad, which I didn't really think about this at all because I'm still trying to understand what I was really going for at this point. But I had said in my pivot interview that I got sick and tired of feeling below par, basically, and made a decision to do really well. And it's not do really well and compete with others. It was do well for me to feel good about myself. Mm-hmm. Whether that was to impress my mom or my dad, or to impress family. I don't think so.
Okay.
I still believe, because I'm, almost 40, for God's sake. I'm still this person, and I'm not trying to like impress anyone around me.
Yeah.
It's for me. Like,
Yeah.
I like to feel proud of myself, and it's not just go and do. I want to be able to feel that when I'm good at something,
By your own standards and definitions.
by my own standards and my own definitions and my own whatever my benchmark is, I'm going to go and do it.
Yes.
Whether it lasts or doesn't last is a different story, but I always want to know that I've tried.
Yes.
And when it came to school was slightly different and slightly more harsh. Like, I literally said to myself, I'm not going to get below an A ever again, and I really never did. But that was at a big cost. It was a cost to my health. Like, I really wasn't okay.
Yeah.
Like, I was struggling to keep up, and I was also academically, A, and then doing all the sports at school, which I loved. That was my thriving point. That was what I was excited about. Like,
You're
ending
in track
school
and field,
for
weren't you?
track and basketball, like pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Like, I just loved all sports, but
Yeah.
basketball was really my
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And then I was doing sort of riyadi training from 6 to 8 p.m. after school, like
Yeah.
after like a full day and full like 5 p.m. ending, going straight to God knows where. I don't even remember where the grounds were, but it was far. It was
Yeah.
not like, central
Yeah.
Amman. So it was very intense. And for some reason, I got this thrill out of being literally exhausted, like absolutely drained and burnt out.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel that way at the time. I was like,
Sure.
oh, this is great. I'm feeling so good about myself. But then I'd get to the weekend and I wouldn't be very happy. My parents were like, what's up? Like, really, what's wrong with you? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And I wasn't fine. Like,
Physically
I was
and mentally exhausted.
Everything. I was just fully just not doing well. And then you just go back into the week, and you go back into the week, and then you have like grades, and then you have IB, and then you have mock exams, then you have prom, and then you
Yeah.
have socializing. So there's no real time to
Prom.
address it.
Oh my God.
Prom. Not that was really
but I know.
a care in the world.
It was a major thing. Are you kidding me? It was
Yeah.
like all about like who's gonna ask you out and how you gonna what are you gonna dress or where or
Yeah,
whatever.
I just wanted to like be with my friends and have fun. Like, it was
Sure.
just silliness. But you, I don't know. I just feel like you don't take I didn't really know what was going on. In my head, you're like, oh, I'm a teenager. Feeling weird is normal, right?
And it is, right?
It is normal. But then there's what is normal, and then what is absolutely not acceptable.
And then there's also what happens when you become an adult and how that creeps up on you sometimes, right? Because like I think that's what happened with me, is that my overachiever status, like the expectation that I've had of myself. I mean, there was no longer my mother or my sister or my dad telling me that I'm special or that I can achieve things that others can't, because literally that's what they would tell me, right?
Yeah.
Which of course comes from a place of love.
And you're like, oh, look at me.
Yeah,
Look at
when I
me.
was a kid, I'd run to my mom with my like A on my exam paper. I'm like, Mom, look at me, I got an A. Like, trying to please my parents. Like, kids do that.
Yeah.
But as I got older, I became authentic. I wanted to start a company because I wanted to start a company, a tech startup, not because anybody else was around me starting a tech startup. Actually, I was the only one amongst my friends who was. And so even this podcast, so I started getting more and more authentic in what I want to do is what I want to do for myself. And, but probably certain expectations that we put on ourselves and how hard we can be on ourselves, can be mismanaged. Like in my case, I guess you've become a hypnotherapist. You seem like you have it together. You have a family. Do you practice? Yeah.
You see what everybody sees, and this is something I've understood, whether it be from the guests on my show to clients that I see, to just talking to friends, talking to family, just whatever I'm around. You can be around someone that you think has it together and they don't.
We all have our struggles, I have no doubt, but
everybody has their struggles, but you don't know the severity of that unless,
sure.
Like, for instance, you might be my husband who really knows me,
yeah.
or my parents who really know me.
Yeah.
But you can see someone and they look like everything's dandy and not really know. And I'm not saying that's me. I'm just saying you have to be very, very cautious with how you, not you, but like how you observe people, because you genuinely have no idea. And it's so cliche, but you have no idea.
Some of the most impressive people in the world, not just my friends, are the ones who are the most dysfunctional or troubled. Anthony Bourdain. I used to love that guy.
God.
Killed himself, right? And I mean, Chandler, obviously, I don't know if that was.
Well, he was struggling for
Sure.
what, short of 30 years or something.
So there's no judgment, and I'm sure people have their own struggles, but the ability and the awareness to recognize as an adult, whatever stage of or whatever age you're at as an adult, that you got to do active work. Like even therapy, couple therapy, all that stuff, it should not be reactive but proactive, because it's so easy for bad habits to creep up, whether it's child trauma manifesting itself as an adult or whether it's just
I believe you just look at therapy. Look, I'm not so into just talk therapy. I believe there's a lot more effective healing, which involves talking, obviously, but there's more layers to healing that need to be done, whether it be quantum healing. Hypno is a really good one, and I do that. There's talking, and then there's talking
like behavioral therapy,
with
CBTs.
a lot more layers being dealt with. I don't believe talk therapy is my way forward, and I wouldn't recommend that to anyone, actually. So although some people feel so good kind of offloading and talking to a therapist, it's not something that I would personally recommend.
Obviously, different things work for different people. And I have, to be honest, I have a love-hate relationship with the wellness industry altogether.
Why?
Well, first of all, my mom and my sister are both very much into that space. So I'm very honest. Some of my best friends themselves are healers, coaches. They go to Bali. Yourself, right? So I mean, obviously, my love part towards that is because it works. Like I'm doing it right now, it works. I do like filter out a lot of the things that I find to be wishy-washy and maybe placebo-ish and whatever.
Okay.
And I take out of it whatever I find resonates and relates to me.
Which I think you should do with absolutely everything in life.
Correct. And look, every industry is exploitative, or every industry has bullshit in it. Even medicine, like especially medicine, like classic medicine, like prescriptions, and so it's not like
Big Pharma.
Big Pharma, absolutely the worst.
Have you read Big Pharma? Because I just did a podcast with someone who is basically a herbalist, a master herbalist, and is changing the world with her herbal medicine. And she told me, read Big Pharma. I don't know if you've read it.
I thought you were referring to actual Big Pharma, like the...
No, it's called Big Pharma.
Oh, I haven't read the book.
And it's so, order the book.
But I've seen the kind of the oxycodone documentary, and so dabbled myself around with that stuff, so Exhibit A. But as far as the kind of spirituality, wellness space, everything from... I guess maybe taking out talk therapy, but everything else from tarot cards. I mean, numerology. Human design.
That's my jam. Numerology is literally my jam.
All right. So this is exactly where I thought maybe we might have a disagreement.
I'm not a numerologist, but I've like named my kids and chosen my house number based on numerology.
Sorry, I'm laughing because my sister today, let me not get into my real estate investment decisions, but she's like, give me your different house numbers that you're going to buy in Greece.
Love her.
Love her. You're going to love Ragad. And I was like, Ragad, the house in Greece I'm going to buy, please don't run any numerology.
What's the number?
1611, which is 9.
No. 1611?
16.11. I'm number 9 too, by the way, according to...
Wait, 16.11?
Yeah, you add them up, it's 9.
Does that mean it's 1611, or does it mean it's 16?
It's 16.11. It's plot 16. I'm literally revealing which house I'm about to potentially purchase.
You didn't
in
tell
Greece.
me where it is.
Greece. But anyway,
you're saying house 16
my
in
address
Greece.
Is 1611.
That's really telling. No,
1611,
but
Greece.
16 is probably my worst number.
Oh, I don't like it either. That's exactly what I was telling her. Please don't analyze it. Like there's
16 is my worst
18,
number.
13 is the
I
other
don't
one.
like 16.
But I don't. So what I keep telling Rad and my mother and my best friend who's staying with me, who are all like you're in that space as well, is that I'm more of a skeptic, right? But here I am also at this point open-minded, receiving coaching, healing. Like I said, Hiba is incredible. She's my therapist, and she does the whole close your eyes and let me, go into your zero.
Oh, hypnotherapist.
Oh yeah, I don't know. She calls it mind hacking. Her approach.
Okay.
But I've done quantum hypnotherapy before, and it's very similar in that it tries to get you to the theta state. I think it's called in the mind.
Yeah.
So I go with it with an open mind. But my question to you is, do you like how because this space, like everything else, can get exploitative, can be filled with BS. Like as in people themselves either think that they're doing providing a healing to someone when they are not, but they believe they are. And then there's a lot of like actual bullshitters, like fortune tellers and things like that, Or maybe, unless you believe in fortune telling, but like that's neither here nor there.
Well, what's the question?
The question is, how do you distinguish in this space, or because it can get very dangerous when a healer starts to open wounds and may or may not close them. And when they take you and make you believe that perhaps like that.
Oh, I just thought of something great.
Yeah.
How
I'll tell you
this.
why I'm asking this question, because by contrast, you have like Jonah Hill, who did Stutz. Have you seen Stutz, the documentary? Jonah Hill was with this therapist.
Yeah, and then he basically took off the wig.
No wig. Just him and his actual therapist, Jonah Hill.
Yes, but then he in the middle of it.
Oh, not
like,
the yeah. They take off the stage and he shows that they're in a studio,
or
not in
was
the
it
clinic.
his wig or it's in black and white.
Exactly. So
I watched it and I was like, what is happening? And it was so confusing, but it was very good.
I loved it because he likes his therapist, because Stutz, his therapist, tells him what to do. Doesn't just ask him a bunch of questions and sends him off, which is what Jonah Hill tells his therapist. That's why I like you, because in real life, other therapists ask you questions to, when you want answers, and your friends who are idiots are trying to give you answers when they're not supposed to.
So Jonah Hill, I really like Jonah Hill, and I've seen Jonah Hill like go through his transitions and like be very overweight, lose weight, go through his therapy as well, even without this, what would you call it, documentary or movie or whatever it would be called. Yeah. And then, what was my point? Oh, and then I was thinking to myself, it's so funny you mentioned this, because I literally saw this clip of him the other day, like kind of unhinged, like screaming at a reporter who was commenting on his weight.
Yeah.
Being like, and he was bigger at the time. Yeah. And he was like, why do you think it's normal? You're the reason, like, I'm suffering.
Yes.
And he went crazy on this reporter. Yeah. And I was like, that's pretty cool. Like,
Stephen Colbert at one point tells him, like, you smell good. That's surprising. Or one of those late night guys. And he's like, why is it surprising that I smell good? Like, he literally starts off his...
Yeah, so maybe I'm like new to seeing him kind of go at people like in that way, but I liked it. Yeah. I was like, I really like how you're putting people on the spot for asking such an awful question about your 100%. Physical appearance, blah, blah, blah.
I want to go back to asking you, as both a practitioner, perhaps also a recipient of therapy and healing.
Always.
How do you distinguish... How do you call BS? How do you call bullshit when you see it from a therapist?
Well, you just feel it. And I wouldn't say necessarily I've gone through things where I'm like, well, this is bullshit. But what I will call is, this isn't a pure vibe. So it's not bullshit. I do believe that the person, so let's say I had 1 or 2 bad interactions. It started off good. And then I was like, this doesn't feel right. And then you have to distinguish, is this not feeling right because what they're saying is confronting something within you, or does this not feel right because it's dark? Because there's light and then there's dark, and then the dark is what is kind of a manipulative bullshit situation. And
that's exactly why it can also be scary, because somebody charismatic, convincing, relatable, all the kind of
who you start to rely on a little bit, like that's
make
where
decisions about whether you get divorced or stay married, change jobs or not.
So I had this
lady. It can get dangerous.
I had this lady when I first. This was years ago. This was a really long time ago.
Can I refill your glass?
No, I'm okay, thank you.
Okay.
So she basically started saying, I really liked her. She was lovely. And she said to me, well, and I started dating my husband at the time. Whatever she was saying was not in her scope. Like, I'm coming to you for a very specific reason that I'm talking to you about.
She crossed the line on what she was.
So you crossed the line. You gave an opinion that was outrageous. And it's up to me to make that decision. It's not up to you to impose your decision on me. So I was like, red flag, red flag, red flag. And that's where I'm not saying what she's saying is bullshit. Yeah. What I'm saying is that doesn't feel pure and light and correct.
Right.
Because if someone's being constructive with you, no one's ever going to tell you something so extreme.
Fair enough.
They allow you to make your own decisions. And what they're there to do, their job is to guide you, not tell you.
So okay. So that was what you prefer, that version of modality, regardless of whether it's coaching in the classical sense or more of a guidance.
It's just
more
basic
softer
human interaction. If you want someone to understand something from you, as a friend, as a father, as a brother, as anyone, are you going to go say, that's how it is?
Fair enough. But what about like numerology, for example, or horoscopes or any of that stuff, which is, people, like you just said, you named your kids potentially after some numerology input into it.
Oh, yeah.
And again, trust me, I would have the same conversation with my sister, with my mom. The process itself is obviously not like, it's pseudoscience perhaps.
Numerology?
Well, I mean, any of that, human design, horoscopes, numerology, sure. Yeah, let's talk about numerology.
Like numerology, human design, astrology have been around way longer than us, okay?
Okay.
Way, way, way longer. So we're coming in, judging it and saying, well, this is silly stuff. But we still want to read it, right? but it's been around way longer than us. So I think there's something about that we have to respect. And actually research. Don't just look at the magazine astrology thing, and don't just look at, oh, well, numerology, what's my life path? Really go into it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that none of these things can be based on the scientific method, the 7-step scientific method, where you can empirically look at measure data that, I'm getting a little scientific here.
But that's fine.
Yeah, I find, like, for example, Georgia was mentioning earlier, there's the brain, logic, data, then there's the gut, and then there's something, a little bit more than data that people relate to. Personally, I'm of that camp myself, which is why I will always enjoy talk therapy much more, even if it's speculative, even if some therapist is trying to tell me, oh, your dad beat you up when you were young or something like that. He did not, by the way, but he almost reached for his gun once to shoot me, but he wasn't going to shoot me. He was just going to scare me. But
you're talking about like ancestral or whatever, generational things that passed down, or memories when you were a kid and things like this that can affect you in life, that's a thing.
Or any sort of analysis of what I'm going through or what I should do that's based on like decision trees and trying to quantify different like anything that where my brain is involved. I personally find that to be for Yazan, I don't know if that's the right way to use it. I'm going to use it for the lack of a better word, if you'll excuse me, a more superior source of decision making. And whenever that fails, for example, when you're ambivalent or when you're stuck and when your brain is like giving you, page not found, or whatever, then another source for how you should go about your life can be your gut, can be kind of something else. But like, I would like to let my brain be my primary source of information and decision making. And when it fails for whatever reason, then I can resort to even ayahuasca or things of that sort, where I can get insightful enlightenment from some external source or a hypnotherapist. But there are other people who seem to do well for themselves, including, again, my sister and my mom and others, who have, rely entirely on their gut feeling and on energies and that sort of stuff. And, they've done well for themselves. I just don't know how much of it is placebo. And then even if it is placebo, some people will tell you, look, if it works, it works. Why would you even question it? And I don't know if it's my controlling nature or not, but I don't want to do something if it's placebo, even if it's great, like for me. I want it to be like...
But what does placebo mean to you?
So placebo, and then the technical definition is when you take a pill of sugar and it treats you and heals you from an...
But what does that tell you?
That it works, it's there.
That the
effect of placebo,
intention
yes, absolutely,
and the energy created
100%
through placebo,
yes,
works.
So placebo is there.
Or can heal or can cure or... So, but put aside the word placebo. Let's just focus on what it actually is, which is like a thought
that creates
and
a
an
positive
intention
outcome,
and an energy.
Yes.
Which the most important word is believe.
Yes.
It can work.
Yes.
So let's put aside the word placebo.
Sure.
And just actually try to focus on what you would do each day. You would set your intention.
Yeah.
You would set your energy around that intention.
Yeah.
You would set your expectation. You would even like, I take it a whole thing further and imagine what I look like and feel like and everything once it's achieved.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole thing.
Manifestation, you mean? In
a way,
yeah.
I try to I take what I want from all these words and all these processes and make it my own. But yeah, in a way, let's take that chunk out of manifestation as well. And then believe without a single ounce of doubt that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like with a knowing that it's going to happen.
So like I said earlier,
I don't think that's placebo.
No. So it's different. So because it's sort of a spectrum and there's a lot of shades of gray in this kind of talking yourself into something that can be told. Even we could sometimes, we're good with time, right? Hopefully. So,
no. Yeah. That. I was literally just checking kiddie things. I have nothing. We're good.
I love it.
Sorry,
the mother responsibility, of course. 3. Yeah, I think.
Oh, you have one.
I have that little dog, 5-year pup.
Puppy.
Oh my God. I was thinking of propping him up in the studio.
Oh my God, please.
But there's no space.
What do you mean? He can sit next to me.
We would the bottom blanket is for him, actually, the white one.
Okay, there we go. He's ready.
And he's also a very space aware dog. So he'll
spatially aware.
Spatially aware. He'll walk between the camera.
Enunciate. Yes. Wait.
My Pythagorean dog. I stole that from a social media clip, by the way.
Wait, what platforms do you use for your podcast?
Yeah, so I'm a Spotify app. I basically just upload the audio file, which comes out of the Roadcaster, it's been 1.5 years since I've recorded. So.
Is this your first one in 1.5 years?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing!
And I'm very honored to have you. Like,
oh, I feel so special now.
I can't tell you how happy I am because
I'm so happy.
I could have asked for like
you, but you're so
classmate,
good, dude. I feel like you're so like
you are as
what's
well.
the word? Good at this. Like you're making me feel so chilled and like I'm like rethinking my whole setup because of this. Like you're inspiring me so much.
I'm getting goosebumps. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for saying
insane.
that. You are a natural as well.
And here we are, you know, observing this in a whole different context with Palestine now, which has obviously been going on for way longer. But
how are you dealing with this, by the way? Like when I say
not well, like not well at all. And like I mean, I weirdly find it really hard to cry. As an adult now,
do you feel like you're desensitized?
Well, as an adult now in general, like I feel like desensitized to a lot of things. Like there's very few things that make me cry now. I used to be such a crier growing up and being in my teens, going to university. Like I would cry like probably too much. I'd be like, why am I crying this much? This isn't normal. I'm very emotional as a person. And then as I grew up, I just stopped crying and I started to become a lot more, you know, walls up and boundaries.
So do you resist crying when you want to cry, or you don't even feel the urge?
No, I don't resist crying.
You don't get the urge anymore.
It's not even the urge, and that's worrying, you know, especially as a woman. So,
why especially as a woman?
Women are more inclined to be a lot more emotional. I think hormonally, biologically.
So you're worried that you might be potentially, like, as a woman, like your body's not responding as it naturally should in some way?
I think it's just suppressing emotions. Like you naturally learn that the best way to handle things is to suppress how you're actually feeling. Long story short, I feel now that it's a good balance.
Yeah.
You have kids, you go through hormonal changes.
Sure.
You have your ups and downs. Your hormones really mess with you.
Yeah.
And I'm not just it's not just about being a mom, it's being a mom and like I'm nearly 37.
Yeah.
So it's not just about kids, it's also about just being a 37-year-old and hormonal changes with that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, being somebody in that age, because I'm 39 as of last week, almost 2 weeks ago.
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Happy birthday!
The least I don't want to celebrate my birthday at all. I didn't want to be in the spotlight, and I never usually do.
What's your star sign?
What's my horoscope? Aquarius.
Oh, so 2 weeks ago, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. You're new to the zodiac, babes.
No, trust me, I can tell you everything.
Aquarius are new to the zodiac.
Oh,
you're the newest to the zodiac.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So I'm Pisces, the oldest in the zodiac.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
And so Aquarius tend to be a lot more, what's the word there?
Airy.
Airy because you're an air sign, but more it's that you're trying to experience life to the fullest and you're not thinking of necessarily the consequences.
Yeah,
like you're just
impulsive.
going and
100%.
and trying and living and all these things without much wisdom. I'm not saying you're not wise. You're extremely wise when I'm talking to you.
No offense taken whatsoever.
Yeah.
It served me well to be impulsive.
100%,
Even
yeah.
Anna Lemke talks about that in her episode with Andrew Huberman, which is impulsivity, which is associated with ADHD and addiction and all of that, is not in and of itself a bad trait. It just happens to be potentially dangerous in the times that we're living in right now. But if you're living in a time when we're trying to survive and react to dangers around us more than in our current time.
Yeah, like you're more hypervigilant, I think, as well.
Yeah, I am. And I am ADHD. And in and of itself, being impulsive can actually be a good thing depending on the time and place. If you have to react and think quickly.
If we were all tested for ADHD, so now this is the thing. Like, I think, let's say there's 100 kids in a grade.
Yeah.
I would say probably 75 of them are being tested for ADHD.
Yeah.
When we were younger, I don't know why I just smacked the mic, sorry.
You're good.
When we were younger, I don't think any of us were tested for ADHD. ADHD is also a little bit more common in males than it is females. Sure. But if we were tested back then, we would probably all have it. But what's happened now, to some degree, but what's happened now is technology and phones and screen time and all this stuff, which has made it even 10 times worse.
Yeah.
And teachers are like, what's going on? And they can't sit down. Again, like, is
and the meds for it, which fortunately, I got a lot of guilty pleasures, but I never enjoyed the meds for ADHD. I just didn't enjoy the palpitations and then the over anxiety. So then that's a problem with ADHD, is that these pills are usually the first resort. They can get very addictive and fun. And I know for a real ADHD patient, that's not the effect that it has on them. But if you're left untreated with pills or without pills, Yeah, it's a first it's a business class ticket or first class ticket to addiction and anxiety and all those things. Again, I'm just basing that on my research and a little bit of the reading and watching that I'm doing of podcasts.
But then let's really think about it. Like, what is ADHD? Forget the label, right?
Yeah.
Forget the label. You're just basically classifying a group of people into a box because it's convenient for teachers, institutions,
right,
workplace. It's just convenient to box people because then it's like absolving themselves from issues. So just put aside the label.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is.
Yes.
Attention, hyperactivity. Forget. These are just like normal things that a human would have, a child would have. It's a normal, just human behavior. And you're saying, you know, X, Y, Z, if you're ADHD might lead to it. Fine. So might, you know, a really grief. So might this. There are many things that lead to X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
So instead of labeling and being like, well, this leads to this.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not a doctor or a scientist or a psychologist or any of these things. Why aren't we just like saying, okay, this is what is presenting in front of us, like these symptoms, these behaviors. Let's understand the root of it. Let's go to the root of the behavior.
Yeah.
And see where this first happened, which is what I do in hypno with age regression. Like, when did that first behavior happen and why? And then you're able to really understand where this came from. And once you understand where it comes from, you're much more able to say, well, okay, this is what we need to do.
Yeah, I think I love the idea of triangulating different modalities to resolving an issue. Because one of them, as you said, could be, let's go back to your childhood through hypnotherapy or any other modality and see if we can land on the cause. My concern there is that you may or may not land on something just because you happen to have been taken back to that childhood. I'm not saying it's flawed. I'm just saying it can be potentially speculative, but it's not. It's it can also be potentially dangerous because if you believe that something happened in your childhood is the reason why you're acting the way you are, and it's actually not, and it just happens to be what you thought about in some therapy. But also it can be so that's not
link. Don't overlink.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually matter at the end of the day.
I think what's important is to, in my opinion, is to say like, let's try this. Let's not associate 100% accuracy to it, but let's do it anyway and do it with an open mind. Exactly as you said earlier. If you're
going to get some sort of understanding and validation and closure from it, that's very important. Right?
100%. But I'm just saying it may or may not be the reason why you're acting the way you are right now, because there's all these other nature and nurture effects of why it can't be linked.
And basically day-to-day energy.
100%.
That's happening.
Thank you. So that's going to be the second point.
And environment and stimulation or overstimulation or or the lack of you eating well and the lack of you moving and blah, blah, blah.
So that's going to be,
like,
that was going to
so
bring
much.
me to my second point, which is, so you have all this like work that you can do on your subconscious childhood, and even maybe you want to go back into generations, like with my mom and my sister, they don't just like analyze your 0 to 7, they go back ancestrally into like your
past life.
Yeah, past life.
Yeah, so I've done past life
as well, right? So let's call all of that one version of analyzing the root cause. And then, for example, the one that is mutually exclusive to that is the one that comes up in the Jonah Hill documentary with Stutz, where they very reductively, very simply say 50, no more. He draws a pyramid and he kind of splits it into 3. The therapist does, and he says like 70-80% of most issues that people have can be resolved in very basic: take care of your body. Period. Don't try to take pills and go back and this and that. Just sleep well, eat well, go to the gym, get enough sun.
So do you know what that does?
Yeah.
What that does, just basically doing those. So it's eat well.
Yeah.
Hydration.
Yeah.
Vitamin D, so be in the sun or the open air for at least half an hour to an hour a day.
Yeah. Don't take drugs. Don't drink alcohol.
Eat well. Yeah. Of course, avoid the toxins.
Yes.
These are toxins, which are, whether it be nicotine
any
or
external
alcohol
stimulants,
or any stimulants, which are not very good for you, right?
Social media, right? All of that.
Avoiding, but again, it's put aside what is kind of around us at this point. It's really just if you're targeting those pillars. So eating well, hydrating yourself, physically keeping active.
Sleeping well.
Sleep.
Most important.
Oh my God. Like the biggest heater of all time.
Yes.
Like my worst health was when I because of kids and stuff
Yeah.
where I wasn't sleeping, cortisol through the roof, which then affects your estrogen and your
my God.
testosterone. Like it's actually insane what it does to your body
Yeah.
when you don't sleep. But if you're just doing those basics,
Yeah.
so eat, sleep, outdoors time with sunlight and movement,
Yeah.
those 4,
Yeah.
your frequency as an energetic frequency is high, right?
Yeah.
If you're adding the other layers of, let's say, taking care of your mind,
Meditating, reading,
those
journaling.
reading, journaling, meditating, then you're going up a notch.
Sure, yeah.
If you're then surrounding yourself with the right people, but then it's all like a trickle effect.
100%.
Because if you're doing that, you want to do more. And then you surround yourself naturally because your
Yes.
frequency is elevated by the right people. So it's just an amazing cycle.
Yeah.
Once you, for instance, drink too much, smoke too much, or on your phone too much, talking to for you, probably it's all just, it's like this.
And that's what I love
So
about...
I look at it like this, like 2 hands going like this.
Yeah.
And which one are you going to be?
Yes.
So choose the right one. Like which one are you going to push it more this way or going to push it more this way?
I love it.
So if you're doing all the workouts and then you're like, okay, I'm just going to have a couple drinks. Okay, fine, but you're pushing it back this way.
Yes.
And then we're going to overindulge. Oh, okay, now we're going this way. And you know how
It's
you're
kind
going
of like
to
a
wake
pendulum
up.
in some way.
It's like just
Yeah.
think of it graphically or visually.
Sure, yeah.
Even write it down.
Actually, the more it's got a momentum effect too, right? Because as you said, the more you get into
Frequency.
those, frequent, exactly. And to the extent,
You're a science guy, I feel.
I'd like to believe so. Yeah.
Okay, physics.
I'm Khalil Karaji.
Physics is frequency.
Chemistry. Yeah.
Chemistry,
Say sure,
exactly.
sure,
I
sure,
remember,
yeah.
but I
love
just
Khalil Karaji,
you have to look at it as a scientific thing.
And to the extent that I do, I love it. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Whenever I do these things that, or I say things, therapy, healing modalities that I find them to be wishy-washy in my own way, I try to turn on, I'm going to use my friend Tariq Masarwa's description, subtitles of how does this, what might sound wishy-washy as the person who's giving it to me, how can I translate it in a way that can be constructive to me in my own way, right? So like, again, shout out to Hiba, who's my therapist, and we, whenever I find that she's potentially going into a direction that is for me a little bit too metaphorical or it doesn't work for me, we go more into framing and kind of neuro-linguistic programming, which I love.
Yeah, NLP is great.
NLP is great, and I don't know if she's doing NLP in particular or not, but like she'll do things like try to distinguish between I need to sedate myself versus I need to rest, or I need to be aware but not anxious, which means you can bring your anxiety, you can be aware and alert, but it doesn't need to mean that you need to be anxious alert. You can be alert without being anxious, and just a little bit
I
of
find
labeling.
that really hard to decipher now as a mom,
Yeah.
and as somebody who pre-kids kind of had a lot of anxiety anyways.
Yeah.
So I was a person who had quite a lot of anxiety,
Yeah.
and then got married, pregnant, had a kid, and didn't really understand that I even didn't acknowledge that I had anxiety. Okay. So then you kind of wander through these phases of life, not realizing that this is full blown anxiety.
Yeah.
And I don't feel fine. And I haven't felt fine for a very long time as well.
Until now?
No, I'm great now. To then confront it, basically.
I was going to ask, to what extent do you feel like the parenting part of your life has...
It did everything.
Yeah, I was going to
I
ask.
feel like I'm going to just be before
Please,
you... Yeah.
because like, sunnat al-haya, as they say in Arabic, is have a family, have kids. And I mean, like everybody else, I think around me, you don't want to believe like the only purpose you get in life is having kids, and that's fair. But I do feel like it's a great way to...
I've never been of that mindset, even marriage.
Yeah.
I was in my late 20s. I met my wonderful husband, and then I wasn't of the mindset that marriage is for me. Mm-hmm. Not that I didn't want to get married, but I was like, well, if it comes along,
Sure.
I will 100% I would love to have a partnership in life and have a husband. I had parents who have a very loving, beautiful marriage. So I was lucky to be shown that.
Yeah.
It's just that as I got through my 20s, I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen for me. Truly, you know, when you just start questioning, I don't think this is going to happen because you don't see it. So you're like, maybe this won't happen for me.
Yeah. When did you get married? How old were you?
30.
Just exactly like the sort of the right age or average age when.
Well, you
like
go
not
through
too young, not too old.
Mercury retrograde at that point, and I was like,
Oh,
oh shit,
retrograde.
this was like really. But no, generally speaking, I don't think I got married too young.
No,
I don't think I got married too old. I mean, not that this is even a thing, but I got married like at a whatever, maybe for our age, like average, ish.
Yeah.
What was I even saying? Sorry, I digressed.
So like we were talking about like I was asking about like kids. Specific marriage is one thing, and I'm not trying to take away from but particularly having children. My question was going to be more about like the human condition, the anxieties of what I got to do with my life, or especially those of us who are privileged enough to have went to a great school, had great careers, great families, all of that stuff. Options are debilitating, right?
We had options.
Yeah, having adversity is in a way liberating, because when you have an adversity, all you got to do is deal with it. But when you have options, it can be debilitating. And the human condition, and you know, everybody, all psychologists have discussed it, Carl Jung and many others. But basically, my question to you is: to what extent do you feel like and you did mention that in Amar's episode, which is how like being a mother is your pivot, and do you feel
really
like
was?
Yeah. Okay. Tell me more, because I'm not a mother. I'm not a mother for sure.
You're definitely not a mother.
Yeah,
you definitely won't be a mother.
I'm not a parent.
I don't care if you believe in like transhumanism.
I identify
you ain't gonna
as
be
a mother.
Yeah.
No, I'm a parent of a 5-year-old Labrador pup, but that's
taking care of an animal is a lot of work. So
yeah, I love it. But yeah, so tell me about like, to what extent do you feel like being a mother, a parent, has naturally fulfilled and filled your life with?
It didn't necessarily fulfill me at all. I think it flipped my whole life upside down, and I won't say I was ready for it. I think I remember calling to myself this change, which brought on marriage and then very quickly a child. Okay, was I mature enough for this? I don't think so. Was I emotionally ready for this? Definitely not. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. But then what mom really is, I think there are more nurturing characters and natural mums who are just ready. And then there's me, who was extremely loving, don't get me wrong. Like the amount of love is debilitating. Actually, it was debilitating. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move, I would just be looking and crying. I was like, what is happening here? This is just ridiculous. It was so overwhelming. I'm a very emotional character. So
who doesn't cry anymore?
Who has tried to like manage her tears, let's say. But honestly, it was overwhelming. Like the whole thing was overwhelming, and I hadn't really sorted out my shit, you know, like whether it be a bit of anxiety or a lot of anxiety, being comfortable in my own self, my skin, who I am, like just me, just like who am I at this point? So there was a lot of change going on around my 30s, like marriage, kids, you know. It sounds really cliche, but it's very much a thing.
Yeah, it is.
So I was figuring myself out, and then my son, he's just so special, and any mom will understand this, like with their first child, you don't love them more, but they change you. They initially just like give you, like it's like a key that just goes into you and goes, and you're just different. I can't explain it.
It's a great way to describe it, though.
Yeah, it's a big change. So I look at him as like this key. And now I feel like I have to be there for him in his ways, because he's going through his stuff. And it's really special.
That's so
it's really
cool.
Crazy. It's really cool. It's really, really just overwhelming as well. Even till now, like he's 6. I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and it's all a lot, but specifically the intensity with the first kid is just higher for some reason. I'm an uncle so I have 5 nieces and 1 nephew from 3 different sisters. So 2. And so I saw what they went through, and it wasn't, I saw the ups and the downs. And, but what did you see that was ups and downs?
Like, for example, my eldest sister, who's like, you know, God bless all of them, but she really is the backbone of our family. She's the eldest.
She's the oldest.
She's the eldest, and she kind of kept the whole household together. When you know, you said you had loving parents. Yeah, I think we did not really much. Like our family was a little bit. My dad and my mom were kind of separated from the get-go. Arranged marriage, you know, that
more
sort of
dysfunctional.
thing. Yeah. So our eldest sister sort of really had no chance but to keep the house hold together, and that had its effects, right? I mean,
how much older is she than you?
She's 17 years older. She's
wow.
Yeah.
So she's like your mom.
Yeah, 100%.
She's literally like you
but
have
also
two
she's
moms.
like my badass brother as well.
Okay, cool.
So my eldest sister is not just like a mother figure, but also like a badass bro. You know, she toughened me up when I was younger.
Yeah.
You know, threw me into the hara in Modalities, where I would get like into fights with, you know.
I remember you in
kids.
fights. I don't know why I remember that. I literally remember you in fights.
I was, look, it's interesting that
you were a fighter.
I was a fighter. I'd like to believe I was, and I went through an interesting.
But were you just angry?
No, I'll tell you. So, you know, earlier we were talking.
No.
Well, I was angry. Obviously, I was going through my own teenage years and stuff. But being a man in Jordan, and if you want to survive what it means to be a man in Jordan, you need to, or not you need to. Let me not be. I don't want to make any deterministic statements, but the way it went for me is I may have briefly been bullied, perhaps when I was in middle school. I had to like confront that with standing up for myself, literally fighting those who were bigger than me, stronger than me.
But you were a big kid.
Yeah, well,
you were tall.
I was, yeah, but I was also chubby, and again, I was picked on by.
I don't remember you being chubby.
I was chubby, and I was also. I was in 6th or 7th grade when I was picked on by kids in my bus who were in 11th grade, right? So no matter how big you are as a 7th grader, if some senior school, somebody.
Dude, kids are so shitty,
so
honestly.
Shitty, right?
Like, it makes me so upset.
So fortunately for me, it was such a briefly short-lived period of my life where felt like I was picked on, or I needed, you know. And the way that, fortunately, my eldest sister dealt with it is like tough love, right? Like stand up for yourself, it can be scary, and it should be scary, but trust me, if you throw the first punch.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
You throw the first punch, I will let you in a second. You throw the first punch, and you're gonna realize like it just goes away, and it worked then. And I don't know if it has repercussions later.
This is exactly what, like, I'm so glad I didn't interrupt you and you continued that. But this is exactly what happened to a friend of mine.
Yeah.
The school weren't handling her son being bullied at all.
Yeah.
Like there was no repercussions for the other kid, and it was very verbal and very nasty.
Yeah.
And she literally grabbed him. You know who you are when you're watching this, because I'll send it to her. I don't want to say names. And she just said, you go in and you effing kick him and punch him in the stomach 100%. Until he cries.
Exactly like that, by the way, in that tone.
And then you come to me and tell me why. And then you come and tell me what this kid did.
Yeah. By the way.
And then he walked into school. I don't think he actually even had to do anything. He walked into school. I want to stand up and show you, but I'm not going to be theatrical.
No.
He got up and walked into school like a different child.
Yes.
Like he was empowered to believe that he can go and like F shit up.
Yes, 100%. And I think it's important. And I think a little bit of tough love and kind of, you know, sure, it can be, you know, again, everything has a potential dangerous repercussions. But if it wasn't for the fact that I also had those public school kids in my neighborhood who would, you know, fight with knives and sticks and guns and shit like that. And I'm an ABS like student. But basically, like the way I would describe my childhood is that it was a brief period of getting bullied, followed by myself standing up for myself, then briefly myself becoming a bully. And then very quickly realizing.
By the way, can I just say I had the exact same trajectory.
But then fortunately,
I was much younger.
Towards the end, I was a bully
When
protector.
were you the bully?
Like maybe 9th, 10th grade, or even younger than that.
So what you just described is something I went through, but it was kind of from the age of 6 to 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was squashed.
It was never like
I wouldn't say like I was a bully, but I remember vividly being such an asshole.
Yeah.
And mean to someone,
100%.
but it was because I was going through being bullied for having earrings and being brown and like having darker skin, and then I started to just pick on the prettiest girl in the class, and I was obsessed with her. I loved her so much, and we were actually really close, and I started to be mean to her.
So the way it works, in my opinion, is that you might get bullied at the beginning, and for you to get out of it, you have to stand up for yourself, and then maybe that spills into becoming yourself a bully.
Yeah.
And then, fortunately, in my case, and you know, may he rest in peace, Muhammad Shraidi, like towards the end of our high school years, we became bully protectors.
Yeah, guys can be really
So you get bullied,
shitty.
you become a bully yourself potentially, then you become a bully protector if you're fortunate enough to kind of modulate your way around in this chart. And then later on in life, you realize, like, as you become an adult and, grow into the world, that this is not how the world works. Jordan is just Jordan. Dubai is,
Oh, but sorry, the bullying everywhere else is way worse.
I don't know.
Way worse.
Sure, are you kidding me? Are you telling me people in Dubai are today the males facing the kind of pressure that we faced back in Jordan? Like,
way worse.
They get stomped on the ground.
Way worse.
In Dubai?
Way worse. Like, I think it's a lot more verbal and abusive through social media.
I agree.
Text message, verbal in person as well.
Sure.
Physical isn't tolerated in any school.
Agreed.
So, like, if there's any indication of that, like, you're out.
But the whether it's verbal or physical, it actually continues to you get into your 30s or late 20s, and you join the corporate world, and you don't necessarily have somebody bullying you at the office, but you might have somebody that's out to get you. So when you go into the office, for example, and you have this asshole manager who's like literally abusing you passive aggressively, or maybe to the point of like putting you into tears. Not myself, but like I've seen some colleagues. And
we've all gone through that.
Yeah,
like,
and so what I find to be useful is to get roughed up as a kid, get bullied, maybe bully a little bit. Hopefully you don't, but if you have to, because then you go into the world and you realize they're out to get you. It's a bit of a jungle. I'll tell you something.
I'm not gonna lie. I would much rather my children face some form of adversity younger than when they're older. Again.
So they don't
like
get stepped on.
Amman, when we were growing up, was a bit of a bubble. Dubai, where we're living and the schools we're in, it's a bubble. London, UK, where I grew up from, like, let's say 0 to 12, 11, 12. Not a bubble. Like,
no, exactly.
Not, although it seemed like it. Like, it looks like this quintessential beauty and this. You're really going through shit.
Yeah, 100%.
And you're sort of, 500 kids, like white English kids, and then you're sort of a one-off Muslim kid. And I didn't even look at myself that way until, like, people started to talk to me differently. I'm like, but why? I don't get it. And then you realize, like, oh, it's because I'm the only one that has a dad who's brown,
Yeah. Well, you mean about yourself in the UK,
You
basically.
just stand out.
Right.
Like, you stand out in some way. Oh, I mean, like,
You
UK
in the UK. Yeah, exactly. Right.
But anyways, my point is, I just think, what you're saying.
So on that point, by the way, because my niece is in Fatiyat Rawabi, this Netflix show, which is incredible. So proud of.
Do you know how many people? So firstly, I have, let's say, my sister-in-law, my sister, and then 2 other people who have nothing. I mean, my sister, of course, but everybody else has nothing to do with Amman. And they've watched the show and they're like, this show
is badass.
Is insane.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? And not that I'm shocked. I'm just like, why have I not, like, started this whole process of watching it? Thing is, I'm trying not to watch shows at night anymore. I'm into reading because it affects my sleep massively.
This is why I have my blue light glasses on.
I have blue light glasses too. When you said that, I was like, that's really cool. I have them too. But it really, really, like, it's my mind and how I think and how I dream afterwards. So I really try not to
sleep is critical.
Watch TV, and that's my only time to watch TV. So now I've just been reading, but when I do go back to TV, that'll be my first thing.
If you find some time during the day when...
Actually, I'm getting on a plane in 2 days, and I can just watch it on the plane.
But
perfect.
Start with season 1 though, because like, even though you could watch season 2 without watching season 1, it just makes it so much better if you watch, because there's linkage. And the reason why, first shout out, because my incredibly talented niece, both her and her sister, but she stars, Tara Atallah, she stars in the show as well.
Her name's Tara?
Yeah.
That's my daughter's name.
Hey! So what are kids' names, by the way?
Khalid, Zaid, and Tara.
Zain or Zaid?
Zaid.
Khalid, Zaid, and Tara.
Yeah.
Very cool. So Tara...
Zaid was like my Jordanian input. I love the name Zaid, and Zaid's a very, like, common Jordanian name. But I actually just love that name.
Yeah.
Khalid, I didn't have input with. It was something my husband really wanted.
His father's name?
No. There's a sentimental reason for that name. And then Tara was just me.
Okay.
And there was no names I liked. That's it. There was just no names I really liked. Tara is the most beautiful name ever.
It's a beautiful name. And she's also gorgeous. I'll show you her Vogue. She's on the Vogue cover of Vogue, by the way.
Oh, I saw that. So you need to show me which one she is then.
Yeah.
But what's
They're all incredible.
How does she spell her name?
T-A-R-A.
Okay, mine's T-A-R-A-H. Why do you think that is?
Because you're British.
No.
Okay.
Because of numerology.
Oh my God.
Your sister would be proud of you.
You're
though.
so lucky to know that it's the first time I see you in 20 years. Otherwise, I would be like bullying right now for all your numerology stuff.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. I would just turn it back on you and be
Fair
like,
enough,
you know
fair
what?
enough,
Maybe Yazan wasn't spelt correctly. Okay.
By the way, my last name is on my passport is MD.
Wait, your apartment is a 7?
AG07, yeah.
7. Yeah. So my house number is a 7.
What does that tell you? Something compatible.
It's a very no. It doesn't tell me
about a
anything other
podcast,
than
co-hosting a podcast.
it's a
together.
spiritual growth household.
Okay.
I want to change the number of my house.
Yeah.
I'm just done. I've had
Based
it,
on
like,
studies by Stanford on samples of human. I mean, this is like a sarcastic joke on.
I know. I'm waiting.
On
I'm
the
like,
lack
what?
of, yeah.
What's that? What?
The lack of empirical data. By the way, Yazan Barghouti would be the first one to tell you how.
But Yazan, like, really, whether he's just trying to make me shut up or he just loves me enough to listen.
Yeah.
But he doesn't think what I'm saying is bullshit.
No, I think he's starting to. By the way, because obviously I'm doing Yazan for a while, and he's obviously much more. He's a very logical, smart man. Everybody who knows Yazan knows how he is, but he has admitted on my own show in our episode about universal constants, and then because he's. Anyway, I don't know if I should. Anyway, so Yazan is a very smart man who likes numbers and who likes data and who that's kind of his primary source of information. But then he's thrown. Yeah, he doesn't know how to reconcile that with the fact that there are natural constants, because that means there's a God and all this like other stuff, right?
No, but I feel like
So
that's where I can really link with Yazan now.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he understands me and I understand him.
Yeah.
And we've been able to get there
Yeah.
because before it would be like we'd be in two different boxes.
Faris Abdirs is another great friend of mine. I love this guy to bits, and he's into human design.
Killeen's a really good friend of mine.
Way. All right, she's in Portugal now. She's doing human design.
Killeen's like the human design queen.
Yeah, she's brilliant as well. I love both of these individuals are incredible. So again, my sister, my mom, yourself, Tariq Musarwe. I love the fact that I'm surrounded with individuals that I may or may not agree with on their modalities, but when we sit down and hang out.
But human design is like way older than yourself.
But it came to a guy from a psychedelic trip in Ibiza. Yasmeen, like he was like, this is where the source of it. I mean, you might say, okay, but so did the religion. It was wahi.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen. Out of everything in terms of how I can relate to it, I've done numerology, I've done astrology, I've done human design, and really gone into it.
Yeah.
For myself and for my kids.
Yeah.
There's nothing more spot on than human design.
Yeah, but you can find truth in any narrative. For me, so again, I don't want to. I'm being very careful not to, because these debates can drag on. But I like something that can work based on data, empirical data.
So you like science and you like data and you want to know that something is readable through data.
I would love.
Understandable.
Yeah.
But that is automatically closing you off. Like when you were saying placebo. You were literally saying placebo, and I don't like placebo. Just bothers me. But if you remove the word placebo, you totally believe in what.
I would still. No, so I think you can manifest something. You can.
So why don't we just experiment on you?
The moment we pull up numerology and we say if you add this number and this number, it implies something. It starts to get into.
That's not it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I look at numbers and this is how I live my life. I'm not saying I look at astrology, this is how I live, or human design.
Or tarot cards.
No, of course not. Like, of course not.
Yeah.
But there are angel cards that I really, really love.
How are they different from tarot cards?
It's different. It's a different it's a different frequency.
Holding
it's
my
very,
urge.
very different. So you're like, like this isn't working for me. But listen,
No, go on.
what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to believe in something like a religion.
Sure.
You said it yourself.
If
I
it
take
works.
what I want. No, I'm gonna take what I want from things that work for me. I take what I want.
Yeah, I am. 100%.
And I take like snippets of numerology, snippets of astrology, snippets of human design. That I'm like, this all makes sense to me
To be
and
clear,
my
nothing
life.
out of numerology I take. What I do take, sorry, to be clear, just to clarify, I don't take anything from numerology, but quantum hypnotherapy, which is, I like.
Well, you said the word quantum.
Yeah.
So if you think that quantum.
That's not my labeling, that's the therapist's labeling.
Well,
Nothing about it is quantum.
But you said it.
No, first of all, the entire quantum physics part of science is also unresolved scientifically. First of all, quantum hypnotherapy, for anybody who's not done it, is going into your past and into your potential future and flying into those spots of time under certain hypnotic state. Correct me if I'm
I've
wrong.
not done quantum hypnotherapy, but I have done past life
Someone
regression. I'm fine. I have done past life regression.
Yeah.
Okay. And past life regression is really interesting. I don't want to go into the future. I don't think we're supposed to see that. I don't want to see that. I think that's actually against the laws of nature.
That's kind of like
but you chose to do that. But you chose to do that, right?
I didn't know what I was walking into.
But that's your problem.
No, I came with an open mind. You want to take me to the past? Let's go. Future, here we go.
But
I'm
that's your problem. You're not being decisive about what you want.
No, I'm just saying. I was skeptical about the whole thing altogether because my sister's like, go see this hypnotherapist. I was like, oh, come on. Again, we've done the theta healing thing. It was fun. It was nice. It was comforting to some extent.
I feel like you're not being decisive on what it is you're targeting at all. You're just kind of going into this broad theme of healing, being like, I want to be healed, but with no intention at all.
It's more like I'm facing a problem, and then those around me who love me, like my sister, she's like, I think I know what would work for you. Trust me, just give this therapist a shot.
You're trusting your sister, but you're not trusting yourself.
And I'm going there with a genuine open mind, and then that's what I'm saying.
Of course, you should trust your sister because she's your sister, and I don't think she was doing the wrong thing. Of course, she is doing the right thing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that I'll take out of that session whatever I found to resonate, and then if something seemed to be too wishy-washy, I'll be like, that was not for me, and then I walk out benefiting a little bit. By the way, if nothing else, just a conversation and just the state of closing your eyes and not having the stimulation and just...
No, but that's just wishy-washy, Yazan. Like, it's wishy-washy with no intention, with no expectation, with no...
There's intention.
There's intention for what?
To sort out whatever might have made me anxious at the time or depressed or whatever it might be, right? So I'm going there not just trying to do it just to check it off the box. I'm obviously trying to deal with something. But
I think
the process
as a science-oriented, rational person who's looking for data, the only way you're going to get gratification is by going in saying, this is what I want to target and this is what I want to feel.
Yeah. Not feel. I don't... The outcome, of course, is an objective, but yeah.
Well, your feeling is an expectation, and if you want to feel peace, if you want to feel this, it's up to you what you want to feel. But you should be able to feel and expect feelings.
100%, but I like the process itself to be palpable. I don't like the process itself to be questioned.
But that goes against what you're saying about being like rational and I want data and I want this.
The process itself can be more palpable than it being totally speculative and just trust whatever the healer is doing, because a lot of these guys are just, or the gals, whatever.
You can have a healer who you trust, but you also have to be a critical thinker.
Yeah.
Go in with critical thinking. Don't go in like, okay, do whatever you need to do. Of course not.
Like, for example, one time
you're a smart, educated person with enough information.
That's precisely my point, that some of these healers contaminate what would otherwise have been potentially, like, I would have allowed it to seep in more. For example, one time I think a therapist made me stand up and close my eyes, and whether I tilted right or left was going to indicate whether it's a yes or no to a question. Genuinely, you're laughing now, you're chuckling, but like, I don't like. Could it be just my flat feet, or that I have like some ingrown toenail in my left foot? That's why I'm tilting left, which is true. I had an ingrown toenail. Imagine how like binary that process was, which is, are you tilting right or left to indicate yes or no towards a decision that I was ambivalent about?
No, but if your body has that sort of imbalance on it, that could be it.
So my ingrown toenail is because of that? Like,
you could be ingrowing a toenail or having hair loss on one side of your head or having an injury on an arm on one side of your body, which is indicating something. So I'm not going to say that that's bullshit.
Look, it could be that. It could also just be that I lifted too much weight on my left shoulder and it had a weak
But
tendon.
why did you lift too much weight on one shoulder? Again, like, it's not all like coincidental to me.
Yeah.
This is how I think.
Fair enough.
And you might think something totally differently.
The reason why, and I said this to Hiba the other day, my therapist, the reason why I am vigilant and the reason I am hyper-focused on the process itself is because it has proven to me that it works. Like, in times, outcomes in my life and things that have resulted to, that have led into a positive outcome have been a function of my vigilance and my controlling need to know the process. Right. So when these things prove, when these characteristics prove to you that they work and that you're proud of what you've achieved because of these inputs, how can you like dismiss them when it comes to the rest of your life? And you know what I mean?
I wouldn't say, I truly believe that if you're the type of person that has a really good gut instinct, then you should always listen to that gut instinct. There's a fine line between listening to your gut and being able to go through a surrender to allow something else to happen. So I would continue to do what you do that's right for you, right? But if you're going to seek guidance from somebody else, submit and let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not willing to go through that and really submit and not question, then I can't.
It's broken from the start, basically.
I truly think it's broken from the start.
Yeah.
You either surrender and let go and really go through the feels of that,
or don't even start.
Which is so ironic that I'm of that type, but who pushed me to do that? It was my husband.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I didn't know that.
My husband pushed me to do that.
So he into like hypnotherapy? And
No, I mean, kind of
Yeah.
in a way. Actually, fully.
Okay.
Because I was the one that suggested things for him.
Okay.
And it's for him, this is private. Like,
Sure.
it's not my story to tell. Like,
Yeah.
this is, but I suggested a couple of things for him
Yeah.
when he was going through things that he needed.
Yeah.
And then I ended up in a scenario where he was like, well, I think you should do this.
That's cool.
And I was like, no. I was resistant. I was like, I don't need this. I'm fine. Like, I'm way more aware than you. I'm way more, what's the word? Into all this
Sure.
healing and stuff. But then when it really came down to it, he's the one that pushed me to do a certain modality which was hypnotherapy,
Okay.
which I wasn't really keen of because I didn't know it.
Mm.
And then I did it because how can I suggest something to someone and like go and be out there and go and try all these
Be a
different things
hypocrite
and then
then.
not do it? So I
Right.
felt like a hypocrite.
Yeah.
So I did it and then was like wowed, like completely wowed. And I certified myself in it because it was so incredible.
Well, look, it's very impressive, and more power to you, because to the extent that I've experienced it, it was helpful. And if I have nothing but admiration and appreciation to any healer, coach, hypnotherapist that is truly helping, and I am getting help myself, right? And perhaps for the first time, as I mentioned earlier, in my pivot that is more personal than professional, keeping more of an open mind than I had before, and I am benefiting, and I'm very much appreciating of everybody that has been involved one way or another, and keeping an open mind is useful. And yeah, I mean, basically just do whatever works for you. I think this is my very basic and very obvious advice: is whatever works for you. But there's nothing to lose in having an open mind. The only thing that I personally worry about is bullshitting myself, manipulating myself, believing something.
All that has no meaning to me. Because you're never going to do something that's bullshitting yourself through trying.
Through trying, sure.
And also finding, again, which is what I was saying to Georgia, is like, it's truly finding the right click with someone.
Yeah.
It could literally be, I don't know, like ayahuasca or a tarot card or this or this. But if you're connecting with the right person, that's the most important part.
Agreed with that.
I think it's about the practitioner and your connection with that practitioner.
Relatability.
Whether it's relatability or just actual
comfort and safety.
Yes, comfort and safety. But there's the right people for you.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't just dismiss and judge and be too quick to say, well, this is just not my thing. It's more, give it a go.
Yeah. And then decide afterwards.
Give it a go, and depending on your reasoning as well. Like, I think I would be able to tell you what I think
100%
would be right for you or whatever. Like, again,
that takes a lot of lack of conflict of interest, as in like you have no benefit to tell a client or customer what works for them based on what you've seen without trying to exploit them. I'm not saying you are, but others are. Like, this industry is filled with.
I tell people that I speak to all the time who will approach me for hypnotherapy, and I say, well, I think that I'm the wrong person for you.
Yeah, that's great, for example, right? And I
think I'm the wrong person for you because what I want to do, like if you want to quit smoking, there's a process in hypnotherapy to quitting smoking.
Yeah.
It's like a 5-step. It's like a 3 to 5 step process.
Alan Carr book, right?
Yeah, not the one I do, but like there are many like versions of quitting smoking under hypnotherapy, and I don't do those.
Yeah.
That's not my jam. Like, I like to go to the root of why you have the addiction in the first place. And we're going to target that only.
You look like, honestly, I'm super happy to have seen you after 20 years. You look exactly like I had last seen you. Honestly, 3 kids and what do you call it? The surgery, appendix, right? Appendicitis.
I think the appendix was the blessing because they also like healed this ruptured, what's it called?
Hernia?
Oh my God, hernia.
Yeah. But you look, just as I last saw you when it was 2002, 2003.
You too,
so,
dude, by the way.
No, come on. Lost a ton of hair. Thank you. I appreciate it. Very nice of you.
But okay, if we put aside the hair, you pretty much look exactly the same.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's very nice of you. But you've done very well for yourself. I'm very proud of, honestly, like everything you're doing. And you set a great example, not just like, I don't want to say this is, you set a great example for women. I think you just set a great example for humans in general, the way you're going about your life. I think it's, come on.
That's really sweet.
No, I mean it from the heart. I'm not just trying to like wrap up the episode with a positive note. And honestly, thanks a lot for also being a trooper and wearing my podcast uniform and representing.
But you didn't explain this. Like,
so Jordan, so first of all, you're matching with the Azuki behind you. You should know. So this is going to look great on camera.
Amazing.
The purple light behind you. But Michael
No,
Jordan's,
but I noticed that you were wearing basketball jerseys.
Yes, it's.
And then I called you before coming and I was like, are you wearing a basketball jersey? He was like, no, but like, should I? And
I want to, but George is like, stop wearing your basketball jerseys. Look like a human being for once. And I was like, fair enough, you know.
Sorry, Georgia.
No. I'm glad you gave me a reason to.
Sorry.
So I had like this beautiful new shirt that I was going to wear. And I was like, thank God now I get to just wear my NBA jerseys, which I wear all the time.
I was thinking, what am I going to wear to this podcast? And then I was like, oh, great. Maybe I can just wear my basketball
You're
jersey and I don't have to think about it.
And not any basketball jersey, Michael Jordan's.
From 1997. This
Washington
was the original
Wizards.
one from 1997.
His less formidable years of his career.
Look, it's like, it's
amazing.
destroyed.
I love
look
it.
at this.
I love
like, it's
it.
just like, it's done. It's completely done.
I mean, if it wasn't Michael Jordan, I was going to say, but his years were in Chicago Bulls,
Obviously,
right?
I prefer to be wearing a Bulls jersey. I just
look,
don't
Michael
have
Jordan
that
is
one.
Michael Jordan.
I just don't have that one.
You know,
My dad went to New York in 97 and came back with this.
Any other player, right? I would tell you, like, that's not the right jersey, but Michael Jordan can wear a Wahdat jersey and still, kill it. So thank you so much for being a trooper and wearing the podcast uniform and for coming on the show. I have a ton of other things to talk about, but we're not going to talk about it this time.
We can do part 2. We can do it on my Pivot.
I'd love to.
You come to my show.
Is there any more wine left? We do last cheers?
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you so much, Yasmeen. Yasmeen Naif and Pivot DXB for anybody who hasn't been following Yasmeen Naif. Check it out on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcast. Great episode, great podcast, great host, great guests. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much.
Love you.
Love you too.
Cheers.
Only want to feel the flight before.